Hello and welcome to everyone across the nation joining today's workshop on how to monitor web test units, commonly referred to as WTUs. This workshop focuses on using CASAS eTests Online together with TOPS Pro Enterprise Online for monitoring and tracking CASAS web-based test administrations. This function is available with both basic and enhanced access. In other words, no TOPS Pro Enterprise license is required to monitor WTUs. Coordinator or proctor certification is required to monitor WTUs from eTests. However, any user you allow can be granted access to TOPS Pro Enterprise to monitor WTUs with or without coordinator and or proctor certification. This is one of 23 complimentary CASAS Online implementation workshops. You are not expected to attend all 23 workshops as indicated by the Citrix Online system. This training room is set up to conduct all 23 workshops. We do sincerely recommend and highly recommend attending as many as possible to learn about best practices, ask questions, and to become confident in using the online system. Online help documentation is available on our website under Training and Support. ET for eTests Help Documentation, and TE is short for TOPS Pro Enterprise Help Documentation. You will want to be sure and bookmark these as your electronic go-to resources, particularly the CASAS eTest Online Guide. The online guide contains the information covered in these workshops. Today's workshop will cover section 8.13. This is under the data management section of the guide, monitoring WTUs or web test units. Before we get started, I would like to be sure and point out where you will find access to CASAS eTests Online and TOPS Pro Enterprise Online. This is the main domain address. I'm highlighting that in the web browser address bar, and also I just entered that in the chat box. This is the main domain name for accessing either application. To access TOPS Pro Enterprise Online, click TE Client in the upper left-hand corner, and anything that has to do with access or administering tests or signing in as a certified coordinator or proctor to CASAS eTests, the application management, or known as the management console, is front and center as you see here on your screen. etestonline.org is known as the production server. This is where you will produce live data. Now folks, we do offer a simulation server. This is identical to what you would expect on your production database. The simulation server has fictional data from a fictional school called Rolling Hills Adult School. This simulation server is available to anyone wanting to experiment and explore our online system without any risk of compromising live data. You will find information on how to access the simulation server on our website under eTest Help Documentation, Getting Started, and here is the document for accessing the simulation server. Okay, all right, so folks, with that, we're going to go ahead and get into today's workshop. I encourage you to ask questions throughout the workshop. Please don't feel as though you need to hold off questions until the end. I welcome questions as an opportunity to bring clarification to what I am sharing, what I am demonstrating, or to provide added details if I am not exactly clear on the information that's being shared. Now folks, because CASAS eTest Online shares a database with TOPS Pro Enterprise Online, what occurs in one application is occurring simultaneously in the other application and vice versa. So what occurs in TE Online will have a direct effect in eTest Online, as well as what occurs in eTest Online has a direct effect in TE Online. You can access either application from any computer. The computer does not have to be registered. Only computers at which you plan to test must be registered. Otherwise, you can launch I wouldn't say any web browser. The web browsers that are supported by the online system are Internet Explorer, Mozilla Firefox, and Google Chrome. So launching any of those web browsers, going to the main domain name, you can quickly have access to your agency's online database through TOPS Pro Enterprise or CASAS eTest Online. Okay, any questions about that, folks? Okay, what I'm going to do, actually, rather than going over to the simulation server for today's demonstration, I actually am going to borrow or just have a quick view into an active agency set up in our online system, only because of the fact that they actually have WTUs that we can look at. Now we're going to actually look at the prior year's data in their database. So we're going to start in eTests to show you one method for monitoring WTUs, and then we are going to go over to TOPS Pro Enterprise and show you additional options for monitoring WTUs. From CASAS eTest Online, testing sessions. This is one method here. And I'm actually going to filter for the prior program year. Since I know that tests have actually occurred in the prior program year. Okay, so notice here on testing sessions, the online system maintains an accounting of all tests that have been administered per testing session. Now you can click on the tests button, so we'll go ahead and go into this one here, tests. This actually brings up the test results lister, and I'll show you it's equal essentially in the test results menu. So these are the 1001 tests administered in the session with this title, specifically in Lab 1. Now folks, right now you see only 583 records displaying. These are actual tests, and when you are specifically monitoring WTUs, this is all that has been decremented from your WTU balance, 583, and not the 1001 tests that were administered within this session. And the difference is right here, that it does not list locators. Locators do not consume a WTU. Locators, the design and the development of offering locators is a way to offer you to streamline the intake process by administering the locator and pretest in one sitting. Now if I expand this filter here and I indicate, for example, is locator, and refresh my screen, this will give me a count of locators alone that were administered in this session. And notice here the count, 418 locators. This is a combination of listening locators as well as reading locators. And I gather if you add those two together, that will come up with the 1001. I haven't actually added it, but I'm trusting that it does. Now, if you want to acquire a list with the pretests and locators combined, then put this in a null factor to include all 1001 records. So for example, if I sort this, now by the way, as a reminder, these columns are sortable. If I click on the name column, you will see this student here, or let's take a look at this student right here. This student had a listening locator followed by a listening pretest, as well as a reading locator followed by a reading pretest. Okay? So this information here can be exported out onto an Excel spreadsheet. Be mindful that it is in a CSV file format, that when you do open up the CSV file format, the behavior of CSV files typically is that it will drop the any leading zeros. Okay, so just be mindful of that. So this is one method for monitoring WTUs, and I got into this view by clicking the Tests button from a specified testing session. One other method for monitoring WTUs that is not as distinct, for lack of a better word, than what I just showed you is through the Test Results menu, which by default all data is contained in the current program year. So we actually need to go back to the prior program year, for example, and I'll just set this. This agency is unique in that it we're operating them on a calendar basis here. Okay, and if I refresh this, this should bring up all tests administered for the entire 2014 calendar year, which is over 9,700 tests. Now for this particular agency, it includes pre and post testing. And here again, by default, the locator is not included. So this is a true count of all tests administered for an entire calendar year. You can also specify, specific date ranges, as well as selecting specific sites to isolate that information. And then once you have the information displaying that you are looking for, you can export that information out onto an Excel spreadsheet. But notice here in the test results menu, you cannot identify the testing session. But at this point, it's probably not necessary. Okay. All right, folks, any questions about monitoring WTUs through the CASAS eTest Management Console? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and launch TE. 3 ways to get into TE is either from your web browser, clicking the TE client, from your desktop, clicking your TE client, or from, if you have placed a TE icon in your system tray along the bottom, then go ahead and click TE to launch the client. We are actually going to go to that same agency as an example. And remember, TE takes the same identical login credentials. You just have to be mindful of the server in which you are attempting to connect. All right. To monitor, one method to monitor WTUs from Enterprise is from the Organization menu, going down to Test Administrations. This is commonly referred to as the Test Administrations Lister, and this reflects the date and number of WTUs purchased. So there is a WTU ID assigned to every purchase of online test administrations. These are the totals per purchase. These are the WTUs in reserve. What that means, folks, is that there are tests that may have been suspended or live testing occurring at this very moment, that these WTUs could be in a reserved state. WTUs used by tests, so these are completed tests, and then the number of WTUs available. Okay. In this case, this agency we're in the process of processing an order to replenish their WTU balance. Okay. So this is for those of you who are involved in the ordering process. This is your confirmation when the WTUs that you had ordered have been applied to your online database and are available for testing. You can export this information out onto an Excel spreadsheet. Here again, it is in a CSV file format. You can filter any column, as well as you can sort columns. Okay. As well as one more, you can print. And for sake of time, I'm just going to move all columns over. You can specify the order. It's just listed in alphabetical order right now. I'll just say WTU purchases as an example. And let's just preview this. This is a form of an ad hoc report. And so notice here it took on the title that I gave that report. It's in the order in which I moved over the columns. Now I could have specified, I think this is portrait. I could have specified landscape. Let's see if that does a better job on the columns. Yeah, it does. It does a better. It doesn't cut off the columns as much. Okay, and then you can export this information out. By default, it's a PDF file format. But you do have options to export this out as a Word or a general Excel spreadsheet in addition to a CSV file. And of course, you can print right then and there on the spot. So that is one method for monitoring WTUs in TE Online. The other method in TE is through the Reports menu. Through the CASAS eTests submenu, we have two reports available for you, eTests administrations. We're going to go into this report. For those of you who participated in the basic reports workshops, you will recall that all reports open up into a split screen. This is known as the report generator or the report setup. The screen is split in two to where it's defaults open to the general settings that are available and specific for this type of a report. So you have, and then you can specify the targeted population, or here you can specify per site, you can specify just for specific assessment forms, as well as you can specify classes if you are going to be using the online system for tracking students and programs and class outcomes. And then also for specific tests. And then you have your toolbar along the top. And we've already gone through workshops on this, so I'm not going to repeat this information, but there is a generating basic reports section in the guide for your reference to understand the report setup generator. Now you can customize this report. I'll just leave it as is. I'm generating it as of March 31st. Current program year. Now here again, this is a unique agency. They're on what's called a continuous program year. This is not common, and this is one of the reasons why I'm showing you this particular agency. I'm going to actually go here and specify per site. You can do this for the entire agency combined, but I believe this report is more impressive. Looking at it by the number of tests administered per site. So that is the only edit I'm making under special options on this particular report. And now I'm going to generate a reporting session. Now let's go ahead and unpin the navigator in the meantime to increase your screen display. Alrighty here. These are all the sites set up for this agency, and these are the number of test administrations. Now, even though this agency is unique and it's set up on what's called a continuous program year, and we help them manage their data per calendar year, the report itself is still hard-coded to display the months within a calendar year starting at the beginning of a fiscal year or a traditional program year for WIA Title II funded agencies, which always begins on July 1st of the program year. So for example, right now we are in the 14-15 program year, which began specifically July 1st, 2014 and will end June 30th, 2015. Okay, so just kind of an FYI for you there. But here are all of the sites as mentioned. Per month, you have a total at the bottom of all tests administered for the entire month across all sites. You also have a total here in the far right, total tests administered per site for an entire year, as well as you have the tests administered per month. And when you generate reports in Enterprise, any cell that you may hover over that becomes highlighted, this represents drill down functionality. So I can click, I'm left mouse clicking once on that cell to drill down, and this produces a list of all 100 students, or 100 tests, I should say, because the students, I gather here, are duplicated, yes, because they take both reading and listening. So all 100 tests specifically that were administered in the month of July at this particular site. Now here again, you can export this information out onto a general CSV Excel file format. You can also use the print function again, title your report, add your columns, specify. You don't have to add all columns. You can pick and choose columns, and you can also specify the order of columns. Okay, and then preview your report and or print it right then and there with additional file format options available to you. Now, in this view, some people are unsure how to get out of this view or to go back to the report that they just generated. To do that, mouse over to the left of your screen. If you recall, that has the navigator on the left, and I had collapsed it. I had unpinned it. So all you have to do is just mouse back over there, and you can either pin it again or simply navigate to that reporting session. We generated this report specifically at this time on this day. So if I simply click that, that brings back the view of that entire report. Now, of course, folks, this entire report you can export out as a CSV. You can set up a print, an ad hoc print report. If you print directly from this view, it goes directly to your print driver on your local machine. But if you want more options to print, then don't use that print, but go over here to the More button. Well, no, maybe I'm mistaken here. No, I'm sorry. This only offers export to, okay, here we go. the report itself, export to, the default is PDF. My apologies for that. And then you have the different file types available here. So this report you can't customize like I showed you on some of the other screens. All right, another report, and I'll go through this quickly for sake of time. E-tests, so that is the E-test administration's report that I demonstrated for you. Actually, what I'm going to do is just keep this reporting session. I'm going to leave that tab open, and now I'll go into WTU balance. And for sake of time, I'm just going to go ahead and generate this report. This report is I would say, the probably the most basic report available in the entire reports menu. So there's not very many general settings, and there's not many options over in the navigator on the left. So this is a nicely formatted report that actually tallies up these columns. So notice here, these are listing the WTU balances, or I mean WTU IDs of the orders, the purchase orders, and the number of WTUs purchased, reserved, used, deleted, and consumed, and then it does give an overall WTU available balance. And you're probably wondering, well, how is it possible to have a negative balance? Well, folks, rest assured and find comfort in knowing that we don't cut you off if you happen to have gone over the number of WTUs that you have purchased. We understand that things like this may be overlooked, not intentionally, but overlooked, and before you know it, you may realize, oh my goodness, we're running short, or we actually have gone over. Don't worry, just simply place an order and we'll replenish your balance. Now this report here is provides the same exact data with drill down functionality on the tests used. As you saw from the test administration's lister, notice the similarity in the information. And I customize my listers, folks. If you recall, when we've done some basic navigation in Enterprise, you can drag and drop columns and put them in any column configuration to your viewing preference, as well as specify the default order. Once you have customized any lister, you can always save the schema, and I always save mine as the standard default. Okay, so these are the methods. Let me go ahead and keep this reporting session here because I want to bring up a point. So these are the three methods actually in Enterprise. Well, if you want to consider two. One is from the test administration's lister, and then there are reports. That's the second option, and then we actually offer two different reports here. But this WTU balance provides essentially the same information as your test administration's lister. Okay, and then you also saw an example of retrieving or monitoring WTUs through the CASAS e-test user interface. Okay, now folks, if you find through monitoring your WTUs that you're getting rather close and needing to place an order, you can do so very simply by logging in to the CASAS e-test website. Click the order button, and we have a quick shortcut to order e-tests. And some agencies and some states and some organizations, we do have pricing agreements in place. So please know that the online system can only record what you see displayed here per WTU purchase price. But if you have an agreement with CASAS, that per WTU purchase price is adjusted when we do receive your online order. So simply specify the number of e-test web test units here, add them to your cart, and complete the order process by going to your cart and then following the screens to complete your online order. This is the quickest way to get an order to us to replenish your WTUs. And folks, if you are an organization that routinely has to or is required to submit or to requisition a purchase order before moving forward, as long as you can acquire that PO number while that purchase order is being processed, then you can simply specify. It's not this screen, but it's let's see, if I just go check out here, well, I'd have to fill in this information, so I won't do that right now. It'll take too much time. But all you would need to do is specify the PO number in the order so that you're not required to provide credit card information. Alrighty. And folks, that does it for today's workshop on monitoring WTUs. Do you have any questions about the information that I've shared today on monitoring WTUs? Oh, actually before we leave, I did intentionally save those reports that I generated, and as a reminder, the online system will retain any report that you choose to keep, and you can retrieve that report from the Reports menu, Reports Manager. So I'll go quickly to the Reports Manager. And you can filter or sort for specified reports, but notice here, actually these are the two reports that I just generated, and simply clicking or double-clicking to open that report opens it up the same exact way as when we generated it a few minutes ago. And all of the drill-down capabilities are retained. So saving your reports electronically is very beneficial, but you may want to monitor the reports that you are saving to then go ahead and purge reports that you no longer need. All right, folks, any questions before we end today's workshop? Yes, I do. Victoria, there you can find that in section 8.13 of the CASAS E-Test Online Guide. And there are step-by-step directions on how to generate these reports. Great, wonderful. All right, folks, the next workshop is on how to add students to your online database. And yeah, you're right, Victoria. It does show only 2 steps, and I tend to go in greater detail in these webinars. I do need, true confessions, I do need to update that section, and my apologies for not having it updated to align with how I have presented this workshop. Trust me, it is in the works, and my deadline is the National Summer Institute, where all of our documentation technically should be up to date or the most current information by the time we have our National Summer Institute. The next workshop on adding students has a wealth of information for you, offers several options to manually add student records, to import student records from a third-party system, as well as populate an Excel spreadsheet to mimic the importing process, but it's a great way to quickly add student records to your online database. So for those of you who have used CASAS and you're transitioning, say from paper-based testing to computer-based testing, we can quickly we can help you set up quickly with the students and their tests. We'll cover adding test records tomorrow, but this is the best, quickest way to by setting up student and test records to prepare the online system to give the next test to the student via CASAS E-Test Online, as well as a way for you to pre-populate your database with dedicated student records with unique IDs. So stay tuned for more to come. We'll take a short break, and I hope to see you all back in just a little less than 30 minutes for adding student records to your online database. Thank you so much for your participation.